I believe this is the second biggest hype for IM for under $20 after the great Moondrop Chu. So hello and welcome to Aftersound Review, and this is my review for the 7Hz Salnotes Zero that costs only at $20 and using a single dynamic driver. Well, a lot of people have been praising about this product, and let's see what it's all about. And just like usual, I will break down this review from the build, fit, sound quality. Frankly speaking, build quality wise, for me, it just straight up not really good. You could literally see in the body where the plastic ends here. You see this middle lining and you can feel them. It's not a really smooth finish for me. And the plastic, I ain't gonna lie to you, the plastic feels really cheap. I mean, it's shiny and I don't know why, but the sound, the feels, it's like a really cheap plastic. And it has this metallic faceplate though. The cable itself is detachable. By the way, just a little bit of trivia that the filter grill is exactly the same like in the Timeless. And it's using 2-pin connectors. But the cable itself, it also feels not a really good quality. It's not really flexible, but I don't feel that it's microphonic. So yeah, personally for me, yeah, it just feels like a cheap product overall. Fortunately for the fitting, I have no problem with it. It just fits my ears nicely. It's just I don't feel that the default ear tips is made of a good quality material. I mean, the umbrella part of it feels really flabby and sometimes it collapses by itself in my ear, so sometimes it doesn't really seal. But it's just maybe a minor thing that I prefer, that I feel. Maybe not a lot of people will face that same kind of problem, but yeah, personally the fit is okay, but the default ear tips, just like its overall housing, feels cheap. Before continuing talking about the Salnotes Zero, let's talk again about the Moondrop Chu and some of my critics when I reviewed them. Some of my critics are, for the first one, definitely it's about the undetachable cable. Yeah, at this price point, I mean, there's a lot of IEMs are already detachable. And then about the lacking of bass. I know that the Moondrop Chu has a really nice, clean sub-bass addition there, but in terms of excitement, in terms of fun factor, and in terms of pure all-rounderness, for me the Moondrop Chu is lacking bass excitement to call this IM an all-rounder IM. And then going to the mid-range area, even though it's really clear and really clean, but I feel that it's already on the territory of shouty. I know different people, different tolerance of shoutiness, but for me, it is already on the territory of shoutiness. And for me, it just lacks that dynamics, it lacks excitement for a lot of songs, so it feels kind of flat in terms of emotions. And that's exactly the fix that I get in the 7Hz Salnotes Zero, and amazingly in the same price bracket. Now you got that detachable cable. Now you got, let's take a look at the frequency response here. You get same amount of sub-bass cleanness. At this price point, there's a lot of IM that has huge mid-bass but doesn't really extend to the sub-bass. The Moondrop Chu is being one of the first IM around this price point to reach a good sub-bass, but it lacks quantity. Now the Salnotes Zero here has really nice amount of quantity that you will feel that it has that fun factor that I miss from the Moondrop Chu, and it's also more exciting to hear. It's more, yeah, it's just simply more fun to hear EDMs from this IM. It's more fun to hear electronic music from the Salnotes Zero, but you still get that kind of really good sub bass without mid bass bloat. So simply said, for me the bass is an all-rounder bass. You get a really nice punch, just enough kind of quantity, but one of the best sub bass that I heard at this price point. I know this is not for bass head, but for me it's kind of rare for this price point to get a really nice sub bass without mid bass bloat. In this IM, you get that. And the bass decay is also quite fast too for a lot of kind of songs. So simply said, really nice job Sound Note Zero on the bass. Mid-range is also amazing. I mean, again, talking about this price point, I'm talking about $20 only. I would say that, at least in my preference or in my judgment, for the Sound Note Zero has the most balanced mid-range. You can see that it has moderate pinna gain. It's also more balanced, not as forward as the Moondrop Chu. So for me, hearing female or male vocal, I hear no problem at all. It is all very balanced. I know it maybe lacks a little bit of forwardness for those who like the Moondrop Chu, but for me it is more balanced here. I hear no shoutiness that I feel in the Moondrop Chu. For example, while hearing Kiala settles, This Is Me, especially when she screams, when she really lets out all of her vocal voice. For me, the Sound Note Zero is amazing for that. You don't hear shoutiness, you still get that energy, you still that kind of power that from the Kiala settle, but it's not as shouty as the Moondrop Chu. The treble part, well, it's a little bit of mixed bag for me, because when I'm talking about its timbre, it's not overly forward. It's just a nice smooth treble without any peaks, without any sharp edges or anything like that. It's just a really safe kind of treble. But personally for me, I'm just being really critical about this. It simply lacks extension for some of the classical music, for hearing violins or hearing some cymbals clearly. For me, it's a little bit muted on the Sound Note Zero. But that being said, it's just being super nitpicking. While talking about this price point, it's just, I have no really complaint about that. Now, talking about technicality. Well, simply said, about the tonality first. Simply said, this is the most all-rounder and the most correct tonality that I have ever tried at this price point. That alone is a huge applause for the 7Hz Salnotes Zero. Now, technical at this price point, it's just okay. I don't hear a lot of details. I don't hear really big soundstage. It's just fine. I don't hear any complaints. But because of that, the main selling point for the Sound Note Zero is mainly the tonal. The soundstage is fine. It's not really big or too small. The separation and resolution is just also fine. But again, because of this very polished kind of tonality, it's very mature tonality, I feel that I could simply hear this IM much longer than any other of IMs at this price point, because any other IM at this price point usually have fatigue problems, such as too much mid bass, too much bloatedness on the mid bass area, and also too much treble or simply too piercing treble, too many peaks around the treble area. But you got none of that in this Sound Note Zero. That's why I could hear this IM longer than any of the other IMs at this price point. And also because of that, maybe because I don't get fatigue of any peakiness or any bloatedness, I could hear sometimes it is more detailed than some of the KZs at this price point. But this is maybe because I could hear them longer, and now I can hear more details. I could feel more, I could simply concentrate more on the sound of this IM itself rather than finding peaks or finding bloatedness to critiques. Now, let's talk about the comparison here for some of the IMs that I feel are amazing at this price point. The Moondrop Chu, again, I will tell you that the Moondrop Chu is simply the thinner sounding Sound Note Zero. It has less bass, it has more forward mid-range to the point that I find this shouty. But for some songs, like for example Joyce Chu, I feel that the Moondrop Chu is a little bit cleaner, and I could hear a little bit clearer pronunciation of words in the vocal for this Moondrop Chu. But that being said, I simply like this Salnotes Zero overall better. It is smoother, it is a little bit more fun, it's more exciting to hear. While the Moondrop Chu, I cannot help but feels, even though it's thinner sounding, it's also more congested. Yeah, so if you ask me, I simply prefer this Salnotes Zero. Now, one more IM that I really like at this price point is the CCA CRA Plus. That is simply the more balanced sounding of the CCA CRA that has a really great extension on both ends. Now, the CCA CRA also have that kind of quality. It has one of the most complete frequency range from the sub bass to the airy treble at $20 price point, and it has more extension on the treble area than the Salnotes Zero. But more, again, sometimes I feel this bass could be a little bit distracting because it still have that mid bass blue that I sometimes found in some songs. So, simply said, the CCA CRA Plus sounds more V-shaped. The bass sounds more bigger, it sounds thicker, and also the treble sounds more forward, sparkling, but also more extended. So it gives a little more of that better resolution ones from the CCA CRA Plus. But the mid-range, I would say that it is less balanced compared to the Salnotes Zero. But interestingly, even though I'm objectively saying that the tonality of the Salnotes Zero is simply more balanced and more easier to recommend to anyone, but if you ask me personally, I would say because I like orchestral music, I like classical music that needs a lot of treble extension and treble details, hearing cymbals, flutes extension, also violins. It's just me personally, I still like this CCA CRA Plus better, simply because I hear more treble extension, treble sparkling, especially when I hear some of my favorite songs. But that being said, I would say that from my point of view and for my judgment, I would say that this Salnotes Zero for $20 is simply the most all-rounder IM for this price point, even though it has not really good build quality and really cheap feeling ear tips, but they give you that really good sound quality. Yeah, it is simply very recommended for me, except you are like me who prefers more sparkle in the treble. Maybe you like this CRA better, or maybe if you are someone who prefers a vocus music, you might prefer the Moondrop Chu better. But for me, this is the most all-rounder one that I could recommend to anyone. Okay, I think that's all I could say about this IM, and thank you for watching, and I hope you could check also my ranking list in the description below. And yeah, it's still sometimes a lot of Indonesian, but I will still upgrade it later. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye bye.